First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now. As always, thanks for joining us. I know I say it every time, but I mean it every time. So whether you're watching on our website, our apps, or on social media, it's always great to have you here joining us. And of course, if you are on Facebook or YouTube, you can join along with the show and make comments, ask questions, all of that. So we appreciate that as well. But today we're talking about something, we're live streaming. We're talking about some old school media today. We're talking about radio plays and radio in general, and a program at WSU Vancouver that encourages students and actually makes it happen, recreating radio plays from the 40s, the 50s, and more. It's called ReImagined Radio. We're going to discuss all of that and get into the details of that right now. We've got John Barber joining us, John, thank you very much for being here with us today. I think it's just perfect, actually, that we're doing a live streaming show on all these platforms and talking about radio at the same time and how everything comes together. And thanks for being here to do that.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Greg. It's very exciting to be here. I'm looking forward to talking with you.
Yeah, and and I will say too, just at the outset here, I have a background in radio. I worked for CBS Radio, for Alpha Broadcasting, for some other organizations, so I have an appreciation of the medium, and KPSU as well. So, but I think to really give everybody kind of the starting off here, just kind of the understanding of where it is. Can you talk about WSU Vancouver and just what the program is there that you're involved in?
Yeah, Washington State University Vancouver is one of the several regional campuses of WSU system. We think we're the best because Vancouver is such a wonderful location. But I am part of the faculty of a program called Digital Technology and Culture. We have a number of different courses that address what we call superpowers, various digital activities, mostly content creation type activities that students can be involved in after graduation. And this coming semester, beginning actually next Monday, the spring semester, I'm very fortunate to have the opportunity to teach a special topics class, and the special topics topic is podcasting. So this is quite exciting to be talking about podcasting on a television station.
Absolutely. Hey, it all comes together. That's also part of my background as well too. So I appreciate everything that's going on here with this. So talking about podcasting, and I guess, comparing this to ReImagined Radio and just understanding how you're bringing all of these worlds together, maybe to start off, can you explain what ReImagined Radio is?
Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry. It probably was a big mystery when I dropped that term. ReImagined Radio is a creative research project of my own. I began it in 2013 when I was teaching a class in digital storytelling. And the students were editing The War of the Worlds, the 1938 radio broadcast, which still resonates today as probably the most famous or infamous, depending on your outlook, radio program ever broadcast. And we were planning an exhibition of student work following the class, but one student asked, how are people going to know about our projects if they don't know about the War of the Worlds radio broadcast? So I went to the mountain and searched around for inspiration, and I found a group in Portland, the Willamette Radio Workshop, that were more than willing to come across the river to Vancouver and provide a live recreation of the War of the Worlds if I would find them a place to provide the performance. So I arranged with a local historical movie theater here in Vancouver, Kiggins Theater, and the owner there, Dan Wyatt, said, yes, I'm very happy to help you if you'll take care of all the promotion. So all of a sudden I was in the producing business, and it went off. I got everything together. We had a live recreation of the original 1938 radio broadcast. Afterwards, the three of us, Dan, Sam Mowry, and myself, looked at each other and said, this was fun, let's do it again. We kept on doing it until, 2020, when COVID came to town, and the movie theaters and big gatherings of people everywhere were closed. I was very lucky to be able to pivot to a local low power FM station, KXOW in Vancouver and KXRY in Portland. And I began producing a monthly hour-long radio series that I continued to call ReImagined Radio. So we've now completely made the shift from live performances to radio performances. And just this last year, 2023, I've started turning each of our radio performances into a podcast, which is available afterward. So ReImagined Radio begins with premiere radio broadcasts, uh, streamed globally. Then it's available for on-demand listening or podcasts. So I think it's very interesting that it's radio storytelling in a number of different formats.
That's the thing, bringing that, the classic storytelling of that to all of these other mediums in different ways and vehicles for people to get to them. And a few questions on that. I guess one, to start off, how do you decide which plays that you're going to recreate?
Whoa, that's a really good question. And it'll sound real mysterious, but most of the time, serendipity plays a really big role in making a decision. Beyond that, I have to look generally for content that's in the public domain. Since I'm one person doing this, I'm not sponsored by anyone. So public domain content means I don't have to pay licensing fees. That's a little bit of savings that I can turn back into paying voice actors and other people that might be associated with projects. Then I look at programs, radio series that I think listeners would be interested in. So there are, excuse me, familiar programs that I think lots of people familiar with radio know something about. And,
Oh, I'm still here. Sorry, that's, if you're hearing anything in the background, that's just we're live in the newsroom. So.
oh, okay. I thought you were trying to play some audio for us.
Oh no, I'm
What,
sorry.
I'll just comment here. What you're seeing are still images from live performance, in this case of The Lone Ranger. I reinterpreted the origin story for The Lone Ranger as one episode of ReImagined Radio. This is us rehearsing in an empty building next door to the Kiggins Theater. There's no heat. That's why we're all wearing our coats. But you can see the process, rehearsing in front of microphones. We recreate the radio programs very much like the original radio programs were done in studio before tape recording or transcription to either metal or vinyl transcription disc was available. And you simply had one microphone, and as lines would come up, the appropriate actors would walk up to the microphone, say their lines, and then step away. So that's the basis of our live performances.
And what's the reaction been to the community getting exposed to something like this that maybe they're not used to in seeing a radio play or hearing a radio play like that?
I think the reaction has been wonderful, and I take great heart and pleasure and pride in the fact that people turn out even after us not performing live for more than 2 years. We had an opportunity to offer a live performance of The War of the Worlds this past October on the occasion of its 80th anniversary. And we had an opportunity also to provide or perform live a radio Christmas carol, which has been our interpretation of Charles Dickens' The Christmas Carol, which we've offered every year since 2013. It was great to see the Kiggins Theater full of people. So I think radio is something that may be familiar to many people, especially older listeners, but it's also very attractive to younger listeners because sound interacts with our imagination in ways that vision does not. Television is a great media, the cinema is a great media, but we're basically just writing pre-digested and predetermined visions, images that a producer or director is offering for us. In radio, the visions are our own. and the screen is generally a lot bigger, and we're generally the hero of the story that we're hearing.
To that extent, and you talked about it a little bit there, but I just wanted to reiterate it. What has the reaction been maybe to some of these younger students who may be well versed in other digital technology? I mean, let's be honest, TikTok or Instagram or something like that, but bringing them into a radio play that was made in the 40s, what's that been like for them?
Well, I can't honestly speak for them, but from what they tell me, it's exciting and a rewarding experience. And this podcasting course that I'm teaching this coming semester filled within minutes of it being first available. So I'm feeling that there's a real interest. Part of that might be because podcasting is an easy digital media to become a content creator in, that doesn't have the learning curve of, let's say, 3D animation, for example, or web development or virtual reality design, or for that matter, social media. I mean, you have to learn the ins and outs of several different platforms in order to be proficient as a social media producer or influencer. But with podcasting, you basically need a microphone and something to record what comes through the microphone on. And it's very low cost, it's a low entry level, and the genres and formats and forms that are available to students are virtually unlimited. I mean, you can be a solo podcast producer, such as myself, or you can work with a group of people, you can have a panel, and you can, any subject you're interested in, you can pursue that. So I've got already some preliminary comments from students saying, oh, I'm interested in mythology. And personally, I never knew there were mythology podcasts, but it only makes sense since, I mean, it's easy and maybe cliche-ish to say whatever you're interested in, there's a podcast about it. But I'm looking forward to that excitement.
Yeah, I mean, it is true. There's a podcast out there for pretty much anything that somebody could be interested in, but that's because, there are people interested in it, or maybe somebody just wants to create it and they're having fun doing that side of it. I think that's a really valuable thing all around. So for you, what do you think is the most important thing that people should know or learn when they take a reimagined radio class?
Well, I think that depends on whether you have aspirations of being a producer, director, creator, or an actor. Um, each one, I think, takes you in a different direction in terms of realistic expectations that you might put on yourself. But I think mostly there is a common theme among all of them. That is to be yourself. You don't need to be somebody else. You don't need to try to emulate some quote superstar performer. You yourself have stories to share, and you yourself have a voice. So let it go. Be natural. Be comfortable, and relax, or you won't feel a thing.
Well, and that's a good point right there, too. So, for those out there who may have aspirations or ideas of something that they would like to do in this medium, but don't know how to get into it, don't know what to do, or maybe, are scared of getting behind a microphone, what's the easiest way for them to get into that and get over those obstacles?
Well, if you're scared of getting behind a microphone, which is very real, you need to become comfortable in whatever way is going to work for you. So, I mean, nobody's watching when you're making a podcast. We're doing something really unusual here. This is a video podcast, not an audio podcast, and I think I don't know, being behind a microphone, maybe that's part of the fear of being in front of a camera, having other people look at you, other people judge you visually, being uncomfortable with the way you look, uncomfortable with the way you present yourself. We need to work with ways to get beyond that and realize that Perhaps the microphone is the audience. And if you can speak to the microphone in a natural voice, then there's a big step into podcasting right there.
And just kind of one of my final questions here, I guess. How does it feel for you to be able to bring these radio plays back, have people not only perform them, but also listen to them and revisit these things that were such classics from the past?
Well, I think it's very exciting. I've been doing it since 2013, and believe me, it's a lot of work every month as a producer, host, writer to get it all done, and there's no pay to it. So the satisfaction that I get from people saying, "Hey, I heard your radio show, I heard your podcast, or I really liked the new information that you brought up in that last episode. I never realized that about, this particular program or that particular person." That lets me know that somebody's listening, that I made a connection with that listener, that they liked what they heard, they found value there, and that they were entertained with the story that I was providing.
Well, John, I want to thank you very much for joining us here to share your story and to share, what it is that you're doing there at WSU Vancouver and with ReImagined Radio, and just, bringing this knowledge to so many people. But to that extent, if somebody wants to get involved or take a class or learn more or even listen to the radio show, can you give them all of the details there for those certain things?
Sure. The program is called ReImagined Radio. That's ReImagined Radio, all one word, no punctuation, no capitalization, .net. That takes you to the archival website that I maintain for the program, and that provides a archive of all past episodes. So you've got listening opportunities as well. If you want the podcast version, then all the major podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon. I'm even on Ghana, a Hindu podcasting platform in India. You can find ReImagined Radio there. Just wherever you get your podcast, you can listen, you can download, you can subscribe, you can review, and would love to hear from people.
Well, John, thank you very much for joining me here today. I really appreciate the talk about this and just, sharing your knowledge of it, like I mentioned, and getting this out there to people. And congratulations. That is a lot of work, I will say, to produce, host, help create this radio play, bringing it into existence. I mean, that's a lot of work. So thanks for everything that you're doing. Appreciate it. And thanks for joining us here on Fox 12 Now.
Well, thanks for having me. And if I might just give a plug to the upcoming episode this next Monday, January 8 at 1 p.m. for you folks there in Portland, KXRY, X-ray.fm, The Mysterious Traveler, double issues of The Mysterious Traveler, the man who hated insects and behind the locked door. Thank you again for having me. I appreciate it very much. Best wishes for the new year.
Same to you. Thank you very much, John. Have a good one. All right, so there we go. Really appreciate John joining us here on Fox 12 Now to talk about that. So ReImagined Radio, learning about some different things happening here in the community, and podcasts, radio plays, bringing them back, and all the different values that you can get from that. All right, we're going to continue on here with the show, though. We have more coming up. So at 1:30 p.m., I'm going to be joined by Eric G. from Around the House Northwest, talking about home design trends for 2024. So we're going to cover that, and I'm just going to say there may be a bit of we may have Mario Lopez in here. So not live. It's not actually live, but we do have something that we're going to be playing with Mario Lopez. You'll want to see it, trust me. So that's at 1:30 p.m. So if you're watching on social media, Facebook and YouTube, you'll see this video end. We'll be back there at 1:30. In the meantime, it's a good time to download the apps if you haven't done that yet, and watch us over there or on the website. We've got more that goes on in between these segments, so definitely want to join me there. But we'll continue on for now. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.